What is the meaning of life? Soul is a Disney-Pixar animated film that follows Joe Gardner, a middle school band teacher who dreams of becoming a professional jazz musician. When he finally lands a big gig, an accident separates his soul from his body, sending him to the great before, a place where new souls get their personalities before being born on Earth. Joe is desperate to return to his body, so he teams up with 22, a reluctant soul who has no interest in living a human life. Through their journey, Joe gains a deeper understanding of purpose, passion, and the beauty of everyday moments. I remember I was really excited for this movie to come out at the time, and that was because I was really quite lost in life, and perhaps still am, and I was hoping the film would shed some light on my situation. It perhaps inspire me to continue chasing my dreams, or to find some comfort in my struggle, I guess, of being an aspiring artist. That's what I thought the movie would be about, but the film's message isn't like that, at least not really. Rather, the film challenges us to reevaluate our ideas of purpose and the meaning of life, like why we're here on this rock floating through space. The film frames the primary problem of the story as Joe having found his purpose and reason for living in his new jazz gig, but can only complete this if he can return to his body to perform. But the problem is actually much deeper than that. Joe is dissatisfied with his life, and he believes it's because he hasn't gotten the chance to play piano professionally at the jazz club. We get a good glimpse of his mental state when Joe and 22 are looking through Joe's life in the great before, when Joe is supposed to be mentoring 22. It's kind of like a flashback of sorts. The lens that Joe looks through when recalling these memories and moments is one of failure. He looks defeated and bored of life, almost as if he's not alive, just existing. He even remarks,
"My life was meaningless."
Joe's refusal to have lived a meaningless life further motivates him to try and return to his body, going to great lengths to do so, even going so far as to alienate 22. Eventually, Joe succeeds, and he makes it back to his body and gets the gig back from Dorothea. They play and have an amazing show. Dorothea even offers Joe the gig as a full-time pianist afterwards. However, even though Joe has found the success he's dreamed of his whole life, after he leaves the club, he comes to the realization that he's still dissatisfied. And why is that? I think there are several reasons for this. One of those reasons being the realization that playing piano wasn't his reason for living, and therefore isn't the meaning of life. There's a huge paradigm shift here for Joe, and you might go so far as to say that his world and his understanding of the world gets flipped upside down. He had conflated the ideas of individual purpose or passion with the meaning of life. And it kind of sucks that sometimes we need to get to the end before we realize what was really important the whole time wasn't the thing at the end. Dorothea then asks Joe what's wrong because she can clearly see it on his face that something isn't right, to which he confesses that he's been waiting for this moment his entire life and thought that he would feel different. Then comes one of my favorite moments in the film where Dorothea tells the story about a fish. The story goes,
"I heard this story about a fish. He swims up to this older fish and says, 'I'm trying to find this thing they call the ocean.' 'The ocean?' says the older fish. 'That's what you're in right now.' 'This?' says the young fish. 'This is water. What I want is the ocean.'"
I love this story so much because it perfectly encapsulates how Joe has been searching for something that has been around him this whole time. And he was blind to this because either he was too focused on what he was looking for and he couldn't see what was right in front of him, or he's misunderstanding what he was looking for. And this is a tough lesson to learn because everything is more clear in hindsight, but we can't always know in the moment. For the most part, he was basically like one of those lost souls we see in the astral plane, obsessing over a certain thing to the point where it rips any enjoyment one might have out of life. Moonwind, one of the characters they meet in The Great Before, says this about lost souls: "Some people just can't let go of their anxieties and obsessions, leaving them lost and disconnected from life." In the case of Joe, he has allowed his obsession with piano and his obsession to cage him to the point where there was no meaning outside of this one thing, that if he doesn't get to achieve this one particular thing, his life will have been for nothing. Talk about setting a really high bar for life. This belief that he has stopped Joe from living and enjoying life for what it is. And this is further reinforced when he returns to his apartment and takes a look at all the trinkets he's acquired from his adventures with 22, and plays the piano not as a career, not as a professional, but just out of personal enjoyment. His playing takes him to the astral plane where he recalls the memories of him teaching, tutoring, riding on the train, enjoying the view, and at the beach with his mom. The way he sees his life now and his past experiences compared to when he was in the Great Before mentoring 22 is completely different. He finally comes to the realization that those moments are what mattered. The presentness of each moment, living life and enjoying each second of the journey, that life isn't about whatever purpose or passion. That spark required by souls before they go to Earth is about the readiness to enjoy life, not about individual purpose or passion. And then there's 22's character. 22 has a similar misconception about her spark or purpose and the meaning of life, except what's holding her back from experiencing life is a bit different than Joe. She's scared because she hasn't found the thing that she's supposed to like or to define her person. She also appears to have some worries that she'll never be good enough for whatever that might be. And that's reiterated when she becomes a lost soul and Joe tries to reach her and sees that underneath her nonchalant exterior, she's actually spiraling and recalling all the negative things her previous mentors have said to her. These negative feelings she harbors inside contribute to stopping her from living life literally and figuratively. Another thing that contributes to this is how comfortable she is in her stagnation, which causes her to slip into mundanity. Of course, as an unborn soul, she sort of has unlimited time. The Jerrys clearly try to usher her in the right direction to complete her Go to Earth sticker, but we can tell that she doesn't really try anymore. She's content with where she is. And I think when we slip into comfortable stagnation, life kind of just passes us by and is sort of wasted in a sense, at least for those of us that don't have unlimited time. I do think there's an aspect of 22's character where she wants to feel completely ready to live before she takes the leap. At some point during the film, 22 remarks that the Great Before is a hypothetical. And I think in this metaphor, we're shown how 22's character is stuck ruminating about living and wanting to make sure she feels completely ready. She has gone through every single thing possible at the youth seminar in hopes of finding her spark and preparing herself. It isn't until later when she's forced to go to Earth by Joe that she realizes some things aren't as boring as they are in the youth seminar. And I think this goes to show that we can spend as much time as we want thinking and hypothecating about life and what we want to do, but we actually have to do it. In the Great Before, 22 has actually tried pizza in the youth seminar. Although they can't actually eat as a soul and therefore don't really care for it, when she's actually on Earth in New York, she falls in love with pizza. This is obviously a very small thing, but it conveys the message really well. You can stay thinking and ruminating about doing something, but it's never going to be the same as actually just doing it. And things might not turn out the way that we want them to, but regardless, we still have to do them. Of course, that isn't to say that we shouldn't plan, but waiting too long can sometimes not be a good thing. Both characters help each other realize what the meaning of life is. How it's not about us finding a specific purpose, but rather our purpose is just to experience the journey and the walk of life. It's all the little things we experience in our day-to-day, whether they're good feelings or not so good feelings. 22 gets to experience pizza and helping Connie, but she also experiences some bad interactions with people on the train. All of this, she remarks, is a good thing. I do want to make a note that it's not that we can't have a purpose or aren't born to do things, so to say, but these purposes or passions aren't the meaning of life, but rather they exist to help us facilitate living and enjoying the journey. These purposes aren't the ends, but rather the means to the end, which is helping us live in ways that feel fulfilling. If I love filmmaking, I should make films not because that's my purpose for life, but because, well, I love it and it helps add joy to my life. I do also want to acknowledge the fact that, of course, in order to exist and survive in the world, we do have to work and sacrifice our passions sometimes. Not many people have the luxury of not having to worry about those things and focus purely on doing what it is that their heart desires and enjoying life however they see fit without worry. As always, there's a balance we're all going to need to find. And as sort of a grim reminder, we could die at any moment. We might not get another chance to live life after today. And we also may never reach that purpose or that goal. And that's okay. We see this in Joe's character when the moment he gets the gig, he ends up in the hospital on the verge of going to the great beyond. And he's completely torn by this and is desperate to get back to the real world so that he can live his dream because he doesn't want his life to be meaningless. However, after his paradigm shift, he helps 22 go to Earth and accepts going to the great beyond. This is because he realizes if we live life for its own sake, then even if we don't complete our goal or our dreams, it doesn't mean that our life wasn't well lived or meaningless. Your life already has meaning. Of course, it's difficult. All of this is really difficult. It's something I'm still trying to learn and practice every single day. I'm still trying to shift my perspective away from doing one particular thing and trying to enjoy everyday life for what it is. And it's a work in progress. I want to close with this clip from the film.
Well?
Thanks.
So, what do you think you'll do? How are you going to spend your life?
I'm not sure. But I do know. I'm gonna live every minute